So we've come up on the weekends. Yeah, there's a bunch of people standing out in
Yeah, they're waiting for change.
well, they can come in here if they,
February luncheon.
for dessert. No, you brought dessert.
I go by McDonald's because I gotta eat lunch around 11:30. So I just.
Well, anyway, are we on back there?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, welcome all. I'm glad y'all are dedicated enough to brave the, see, it's already lightening up, but is the board going to be okay now that the light's coming in?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I gotta say something, I'm just trying to be funny, but we ended last week with let go or be dragged. That's where we left off last week. No, you said let it go.
Yeah, that's a good thing, yeah. Okay, well,
There was something else that you had said 2 weeks ago that I forgot about, but you mentioned to one of the people up front that ding a bell and this person was going to do something. And I thought to I wrote to myself, right, by a bell, I wanted to experiment. Ding a bell.
We were talking about hypnosis? Is that what we were talking about?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think
That's the problem. After I got out there to buy the bell, I couldn't remember, first of all, what I was gonna buy.
oh, I think the joke was, you know, if you hypnotize them, next time you hear a bell, you're going to bark like a dog or something like that. You know, some program will come up that you've been programmed. Yeah. Well, anyway, this week I've had, for me, a very exciting week. I didn't do anything physically, but I've been very alive inside, you know. And the big thing this week that I think has caught the national attention and excitement, seems to anyway, is the discovery of the gravitational wave in space. Now, this is kind of like Einstein said, well, you know, unicorns exist, but nobody's proved it. So when they discovered the actual empirical evidence of a gravitational wave, it was like discovering the unicorn. You know, it actually existed. And it was, I use it as a metaphor, but let me just go over what I'm not a physicist, but what my understanding of it is, so I can use it for my purposes. I'll bend the gravitational wave to my purposes.
I'm not sure I understand what it is.
All right, so what it is that they've discovered something called a black hole.
Okay.
Not because they can see the black hole, but they can see planets and stuff orbiting around this hole. So they can't see the black hole, they can see the form. See, this is form. And the black hole is formless, right? So the only way they know this hole exists is because it has to, because stuff is going around it.
Yeah.
Okay? So then they were able to see where, and they show pictures of it. Two black holes orbiting each other, and when they're drawn into each other, they make a big hole. And this sends out a gravitational wave that bends space-time.
That's what confuses me. I can't even visualize Ben's space.
All right, well, this is where I came up with this. All right, imagine a fishbowl.
Okay.
And you've got the fishbowl and you put it in a lake.
In a what?
A lake.
Lake, okay.
And you got a fish in it.
That's fishing.
Right. Now, the fish can't see the bowl, but as he travels around,
In the water.
he goes in a circle.
Yeah.
But he thinks he's going straight. Right? Fish thinks that he's just swimming in the, I have a fish. The fish just swims in the water he's got. And he swims around the bowl. But from his point of view, he's in a lake. you see. He doesn't see the bowl because he's not outside the bowl. I could see the bowl because I'm outside of it. The fish can't see it. But he's going in a circle. So his space-time is warped. You see, the reality he sees is in the bowl, but it's shaped, the reality is shaped by the bowl. But he can't see it, so he thinks he's going straight. And other fish can see, and they say, you know, other fish are out there, and they say, you know, you're going in a circle? So we can see other people, you see, when they're caught in a
Vortex.
pattern of negativity or anger, you know, we can see that, but they can't see it because they're in the bowl. You see? So the way I understand it is that the gravitational wave bends reality in the same way that the fish bowl bends the reality of the fish.
Ben's reality.
Yes, but bends space-time. See, reality is space-time. I mean, that's the reality we live in. This room is located in space at a particular time, right? So, so for us, see, then reality is what we perceive. If we don't perceive it, it doesn't exist. You know. So just like with Einstein, he could perceive in his mind the existence of gravitational waves, but until we actually could measure it with scientific instruments, it was just a possibility, but it didn't really have any reality to it. So in the West, after the Middle Ages, with Descartes and the scientific method, basically what that method did was say, if you imagine a unicorn, it doesn't exist until you actually find evidence of a unicorn. In the Middle Ages, unicorns existed. They didn't need evidence. You know, if I can think of it and imagine it, you know, well then it exists. You know, well then the scientific method came in and grounded imagination in reality. So now
Was really a unicorn in the Middle Ages?
huh?
It really existed?
No, they believed it
Oh, they
existed.
believed it. Oh, okay.
But see, then, but in order for it to exist, you would have to find evidence. You have to find Bigfoot. You know, you see what I mean? So that's what the scientific method was all about. Basically, was that in order for something to exist and be real, it has to have evidence, and it has to be understood in clear and distinct ideas, definition. And other people have to be able to repeat or duplicate your proof. You see, if I'm the only one that can prove it, no one else can do it, it has no validity. But if I give you the formula and you make the same cake I just made and it's delicious, that's a real cake or a real formula, you see. So this whole idea then, to me, this becomes a metaphor for our understanding of Dharma and ourselves, because what we're interested to see, Buddhism, the whole principles of Buddhism is seeing reality as it is, instead of seeing reality as it's warped. In other words, well, I was dreaming. I have a recurring dream. The recurring dream is that I'm in the submarines again, as I am now at my age, and I suddenly find myself back in the Navy, and everyone else is in their 20s. And for some reason, I've rejoined the Navy at 79, you know.
Your sister-in-law's not there.
No, and it's just a recurring, but today's dream this morning's dream was really interesting, because I was sleeping in the Navy. I was in the bunk in the Navy sleeping, but I could feel myself in my bed, you know, sleeping. So there was, you know, there was a part of me that was aware of my body in the bed with sheets and sleeping. Yet my dream was that I was sleeping in a bed in the Navy, And then I was given a brand new uniform, and this was new. I was given and it was khakis, and I said, oh, when I was in the Navy, I wore blue, but now they have khaki uniforms, and it was all brand new, spanking new, you know. So anyway, but the point is, a dream is a warped reality. You know, we think it's real when we're in the dream, but when we're outside the dream, we know it's a dream. But inside the dream, we're in the fishbowl. So when dreaming and waking, so when we wake up, you know, we're suddenly in the lake instead of in the fishbowl. You know, and it was just, and so we do this every day. What the wisdom traditions say that actually our waking state is a fishbowl. You see, that our waking state is also has the quality of a dream to it. You know, so that there's another awakening to go. So you got deep sleep, which is like the black hole. No dreaming, nothing, but yet you know you're asleep. You wake up refreshed. So there's something that's alive there. It's not like we don't exist, but we're just not thinking, and we're not dreaming. Come in. Glad you got here. So like the deep sleep is like the black hole, and then when we move up from deep sleep, we move into dream, which is the fishbowl of the dream. And then when we wake up, we're in reality. But this tradition says, no, that reality is just another fishbowl. There is something beyond that, you see, that our fishbowl is shaped by a gravitational wave. So in this tradition, what is the so now let's take these metaphors here and move to our own self or psyche, understanding our own self, you see. So if I am in a bended reality of my perception, that reality here's my old friend again. Groundhog Day. We talked about that. So Groundhog Day movie is about a time warp or gravitational wave that bends reality around so that you keep coming back to the same day. You see? So every morning he wakes up to Sonny and Cher, I got you, babe. And this goes, we don't know how long it goes on. It goes on, could be on for an eternity. You know, but during the movie he learns languages and he discovers all things, you know. And at first he was trying to get out of the wave. He couldn't kill himself to get out. He couldn't get out of the time warp, no matter what he did. But the space-time was bent around, you see. So everyone else thought they were swimming straight. Everyone else in the movie thinks they're in time going straight. But he's in a warp time. But he sees it. Okay, so he's half awake. See, he knows he's in a time warp, but he can't get out. You know, so this is the dark night of the soul in mythology. In Avatar, for those of you who saw that, Jake Sully, did you see Avatar? You know, Jake Sully was caught. At some point in the movie, he's caught between two worlds. The sky people, earth people, and the Navi, or the Pandora people. And he's in the middle, and he doesn't know which one is real. It's like when we wake up in the morning from a real strong dream, and there is a moment where we're not sure if the dream is real or if the bedroom is real. You know, there's that. Or when I was in the submarines, you know, when the submarine's on the surface, I'm a surface ship, and then it's submerged, and then it becomes a fish. But there is a moment there where you are both. And you're very vulnerable at that moment because a wave could knock you over. So they don't like to do that in storms. We didn't anyway. But anyway, there's this transition, there's this point between the two worlds, you see. The warped reality of the fishbowl, or like in Groundhog Day, it's like an orbit. But space-time is orbiting around something. I mean, you have to have, you can't have an orbit unless there is a center to it that holds it in place, you see. So if you see now this is what Buddha said, basically. The Groundhog Day, the warped reality is suffering. There is a cause to it. In other words, this is the effect. And this is the cause. Okay? So, there's a recognition there is suffering. I'm in a Groundhog Day. And then there is the fact that there is a cause.
What is that cause? Is it thought?
No.
Is it mind?
The problem with the Groundhog Day is that if you're in a fishbowl, which is a warped reality, and you realize, if you think the cause of my fishbowl suffering is that fish, you see, he's the cause of it. Maybe it's the shark. I don't know. You see, the fish. Then I'm not going to get out of the fishbowl. I've got misplaced cause. See, the fish out here is not the cause of the
A
fishbowl.
cause that can't be solved
Yeah,
unless you solve it.
you have to
yourself.
see it.
Yeah.
All right. So, as long as I misplace the cause, blaming the other person or blaming myself
Right.
for the fishbowl, the orbiting continues, the fishbowl continues, you see. So what Buddha says is, well, there is a cause. Yeah, well, we all realize that. But we are suffering from the fallacy of the misplaced cause. The cause is not me as a self,
Right.
but is something that I'm not seeing. There's something I'm missing. A black hole. You see, I can't see the black hole. But it's the black hole that is the C-A-U-S-E, is the cause. And if you see the black hole,
You can get rid of it.
it goes away, and then the effect goes away. If you remove the cause, you remove the effect. And that is the liberation of suffering. So if you see
What is causing it?
the cause, you don't have to do anything to break the fishbowl. It just dissolves because it's transparent. It's just you just find yourself in the lake. It's like going to a movie and you're sitting in a regular movie. It's 2 dimensionals, and you put glasses on, 3D glasses on. Now you're still seeing the same movie, but there's another dimension to it. So the reality stays the same, but now it has the dimension, the true dimension to it, and the suffering is because we're only seeing 2 dimensions. In other words, we're just seeing the warp in the time, the warp in our reality, instead of the clear reality. So the fishbowl, say, would be my persona, or my personality, with its faults and karma and its pain and my father and my sister-in-law, all the causes of pain, you see, is part of my karmic personality. But when I see the fishbowl and I see the cause, the black hole, the fishbowl is still there because I still need a personality, but there's no pain in it. It's just something and my father didn't approve of me and all that, you see. It's just metaphors, just food for my talk, you see. It's not, there's no personal pain in it, you see. So the warped bit space-time in the Buddhist tradition is the cause of our pain because we're not real. We're warped. But we can't see it, so we're just struggling against it, you see. Too much, yeah, it's really getting, I mean, Scott, it's blue out there now. Good. So all this, and just to, I don't know,
So what do they think that's in the black hole? Are there still this?
well, there's no way to know.
Oh, okay.
And see this is what our Buddhist, what Buddha says in his teaching. And remember that there is that Buddha is a black hole. But there is no such thing as Buddha as a personality,
Right.
a historical. There is no such thing as a Buddha who was in space-time, a historical figure who lived 500 years before Christ and taught for 50 years in northern India. I mean, there was a historical person there, but that wasn't the Buddha. See, so the Buddha is like the black hole that is present in all of us. If you want to put this in Christian terms, you could say Christ is the black hole, that while Jesus was a historical figure in the past, the Christ is the black hole that lives in our center, but we can't see it because it hasn't got any form, but it's there. And everything moves around it. So the truth of this is that if we don't turn towards the black hole, we don't liberate ourselves from the pain of the Groundhog Day. However, if we do go and look at the black hole, the world stays the same, but everything is different. You see. So the question is, what is the black hole? Now, I hope you all have been taking my recommendation, and if you can, watch Mad Men again. I'll bring it up again, because it was really, yesterday, I watch an episode every day at 5 o'clock. I have a martini, watch Mad Men. So yesterday I thought was a very critical moment because Don Draper, who is everyman, Don Draper's a metaphor. I mean, this is a fictional character. But in art is metaphors about us. So art, basically all art is a way for us to see the fishbowl. So the art reflects through metaphor. So we were entertained by looking at it, but at the same time, great art has a reflective quality to show us our own fishbowl. Okay, so Don Draper is everyman, and yesterday it was very important because he'd kind of reached a critical point in his life. They told him to take a vacation from his job because he was drinking too much and he was too erratic, and he had just broken the trust with his daughter and his family, and his whole world was coming apart. But at the same time, Don Draper has a black hole. Now Eckhart Tolle calls this the pain body. Now the episode of Mad Men, you see Don Draper, the whole series is about him avoiding the pain of his childhood, his sense of being unworthy. He grew up in a whorehouse. So all these horrible things happened to him. So they're buried down there. He took a new identity. Don Draper is an identity he took in Korean War. He was really born Dick somebody, I don't know. But he just took so he built He built a fishbowl. A personality who's strong, who's creative, who the women love, you know, a man who's in command. You know, he's the creative director of the ad agency, you know. So he created that. A step by step, you know. But he created it in order to avoid his pain body. So in the episode yesterday, he takes these 3 kids into this rundown neighborhood, and they say, why are we going here? This is dangerous, you know, this is, oh, terrible. And he's driving there in his Cadillac, you know, and he stops and they get out and they look up at this, what looked like to be kind of like a princess, Queen Anne house, a lot of frills and everything. It's all torn down and paint's falling off and little black kids sitting on the front eating a popsicle, you know, and it's in a slum. And he looks at it and he says, not proudly, but just matter-of-factly, that's where I used to live. You know, so the great Don Draper, you know, took his kids to show them his pain body. You know, so for me, that metaphorically, I was really touched during this because, of course, I've had a pain body that I've always worked with, and all of us have a pain body. Buried pain, regrets, things that we don't want to look at. And so the whole episode has been the gradual exposing of his awareness to his pain body and how he's, like the world won't let him get away with it. The world conspires to expose him. So he keeps bumping into his pain. It keeps hitting him, you know. And so finally he's pushed to the edge where he has to go into it and look at it. So he was looking at his pain body that was taking the form of this house, this whorehouse that he was beaten in, you know, and had a cruel, you know, very painful existence, you see. And he was able to look at it in the light of day, rather than in memory. So I have, you know, so then this was a big, to me, this was a big step in the quest of Don Draper for inner peace. And this is what Eckhart Tolle is all about too, because this idea of the pain body is something that Eckhart Tolle talks about. Is that it's like a koi fish in the pond of our mind, and it will come up to feed, and we end up in a karmic spat with life or with our sister-in-law or something, where this pain comes up and then it feeds, and everyone else's pain body comes up, and you have 2 pain bodies together, and then when they get fed, they all go back down, and you say, what the hell happened? You know, I'll never do that again, you know. But sure enough, the koi fish comes up again when it's time, when conditions are right, you see. When conditions are right, the pain will come up.
But they say, this also saying, I've read in books, it's not just our pain we're carrying, it's the pain of humanity.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. You know, there's like the Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
You got my individual pain, then I got the pain of my family, then I got the pain of my community, the pain of my race, the pain of my religion, the pain of my nation, the pain of humanity. See, Buddhism goes to the pain of humanity, you know, which is having compassion for all human beings. So compassion means I feel the pain of another. I feel their pain because it's my pain. You know, that of humanity, you know, of all human beings, not just the poor people. You know.
So is that a good thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because that frees us from
Right.
the time warp of avoiding it.
That's a good
Yeah.
deal for
Yes.
other people.
Yeah, so avoidance creates the time warp around what we
Stress.
avoid.
Stress,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so this, you know, we experience this all the time. Like I shouldn't call that, I don't want to call that person up. Right?
Call it.
You know, so I avoid it. Now I'm thinking about it.
What you call it.
Yeah, you know, I avoid meeting that person. And now the avoidance creates a thought vortex.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think my way out of
That-
calling the person, you know. I just don't want to face it. I don't want to talk to them about that the cause. I don't want to talk to them about that pain. You know, I don't want to feel it. I don't want to go there, you know. And that's why we don't want to go there, because it's painful.
Yeah. But you gotta get rid of it,
Yeah,
the color.
yeah. You have to see the whorehouse.
You have to put yourself there.
Yeah, you have to look at it, you know, but not judgmental, like saying, oh, you know, this I'm bad for having it. You know, it's
You accept it.
in Yoga Nidra, the word equanimity comes in, where you just look at it with equanimity. It's just there. It's just a feeling. It's just a pain. It has no story. So, as we're pulling this cotton ball apart, I was thinking, well, the other thing I was thinking about this week, maybe we can flesh this out a little bit, was I'm really interested in the politics of this election. Not so much, you know, from a factual thing and that, but kind of like metaphorically, you know, what is it, what's really, I see everything as a metaphor. In the sense that everything to me becomes a metaphor that reflects on and shows me the Dharma or the truth of reality. So I was thinking about these, the two fish bowls in politics would be the Democrats and the Republicans. So in the Republican fishbowl, you basically, it's kind of like you have Trump against all the other candidates. Okay? You know, like Trump is the top of the heap. Nobody can knock him off. He says the most terrible things, awkward, unbelievable things, and just gets higher. And all the other candidates, fish, are trying to knock him off. You know? So I was, and then over here, you have the Democratic fishbowl, and you have two fish. You got Sanders and you got Clinton. And so each one of these is kind of like saying a different thing. Now there was one thing that really struck me this weekend was that there was the South Carolina debate, which
I caught that.
which historically gets real nasty anyway.
Oh, mercy.
So the Republican debate was kind of like a bunch of fish trying to find the weakness in another fish, and all of them pick him to death, right? It was. But Trump says, Trump. Now this, I watch NBC and MSNBC in the morning, Morning Joe, and the thing that they were focusing on was the confrontation between Trump and Bush. See, this is the big fight down there, because Bush is bringing in his mother and his brother, you know. Of course, now this brings up the karmic history of the Republican Party. So Jeb is saying how great his mother was, and I really had to laugh. So he says, she's the strongest, greatest woman, and Trump says, well, she ought to run. And I mean, it's that kind of stuff that it's just so great entertainment. But anyway, so they're having back and forth. And so Jeb is brazen up, my brother's so great he kept us straight, kept us safe, you see. And Trump says, no, he didn't. He was president when 9/11 happened. He didn't prevent it. And then he lied and went to war, and that Iraq war has caused the mess we're in now. And he said, Saddam Hussein killed terrorists, and so Bush killed the guy who killed the terrorists. And so then that created like the Republican Party went, oh, you can't say that. That's
One
like,
conclusion I've come to about Donald Trump is he is emotionally free. He does not filter what goes through his mind. It just comes out his mouth. I'm not saying that's good,
I know what you mean.
but I
Yeah.
envy it in a way because he just speaks his mind, and you take it or leave it, whatever.
There's, I watch,
Well, he don't care who he hurt.
That's the
There's
bad.
no feeling.
There's a phrase on, you know, this, I watch The Daily Show, which replaced Stephen Colbert with Larry Wilmore on Comedy Central. And he does a little piece on Obama don't care. So see, Obama's been caring, trying to work with the Republicans, trying to do stuff, and now in the last year, it's Obama don't care. And so that's kind of like with Trump, but Trump don't care.
Exactly.
And he doesn't care because he's wealthy first, you know. And he's not a politician. This has not been his lifelong ambition to be president. You know, he just wants to build another building with Trump on it.
And he's confident within himself.
And he has confidence.
He has confidence, and I became aware of that emotionally free, because I used to play cards with these ladies at the seniors community where I used to live. And there was one lady that was like that. She didn't have a problem expressing anything that came into her mind. And sometimes I would go, oh my God, Barbara, don't say that, don't say that.
Right.
But she was emotionally, isn't that what it is? We're just emotionally free. We filter our emotions, we filter our thoughts, you know, we don't want to hurt other people.
The black hole.
Well, if you're free from the pain body, which is primarily a feeling of not being worthy.
Right.
So if you're free from the feeling of unworthiness, which can get very strong, like people's depression is just, I don't even deserve to be here.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, I'm so unworthy, you know, I don't even deserve to live, you know, that kind of spiraling down, you know. So when we're free from the pain body, we're free, we become Trump don't care. I just speak what comes out of my mouth, you know. And in the same way, what we're doing here, you see, in other words, there is no dogma or religion or any regulations or lesson plan or anything that is override or making us conform to anything. So this is like, so I'm just speaking what comes up, and hopefully you all are in that same place where you can participate in that, you see. And I gotta take my sweater off, it's getting hot in here. So that, you know, so I've really spent my whole life becoming free from my pain body. So when you're free from the pain body, your reality doesn't orbit around it. You see, you're in the lake now. You're not in a...
You're not worried about being judged or being...
Yeah, or being exposed.
Exposed, yes.
See that, yeah.
I'm afraid, number one, I'm afraid the guy's gonna have a heart attack one of these days. I mean, he gets so red on the stage. And I wonder, like with Sanders too sometimes, I wonder, can they really make it through a 4-year or an 8-year term? But second, I don't wanna come across as a pro-Trump person, because I don't think that he could do what he says he can do, but I actually find myself believing the same things he does in many instances. I just don't think reality is that it could be done. But, you know, it's almost like a religion. You want to believe that this man could actually do the...
Well, see, that's his magic is that he doesn't really say what he's going to do. He'll just say that I'll do whatever needs to be done because I'm Trump.
He just inspires confidence.
Yeah, in other words, yes, he is an inspirational figure because what you just said, he inspires confidence. But he doesn't lay out a big program.
I just see him hitting Congress, and I can't see Congress going along with anyone at this point, let alone a Democrat or Trump.
Right. Well, you know, this is, and see, since he is not an ideological person, so he's not like conforming his whole life to some ideology, because the news clips will come up and show him saying exactly the opposite of everything he's saying now.
I think his only ideology.
Because he's been around long enough so that he's had several lives.
Oh, his ideology is winning. You just
Yeah.
win.
Money.
Mhm.
That's helped him all his life,
Yeah.
with money.
Well, he started out with a golden shoe, yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
You know, there's a problem with the concept that they go back and see what he said 10, 20 years
Mhm.
ago. Because if you asked me 10, 20 years ago what I thought about gay and lesbian, or blacks and whites, 10, 20 years, no, 20, 30 years ago, I was totally different.
Sure.
It really,
Well, see, that's why, all right, see, that's why getting to Trump again, because see, Trump, the Republican fishbowl is being pure conservative, whatever that means, but it's an ideological, it's a point of view, it's a set of values, like abortion and gay rights, you know, all these family, all these social values. But their litmus test, you see, is very strong, is you have to be a pure conservative. So Cruz and all the rest of them are saying, I'm the pure conservative, you know. And so, but Trump obviously is not,
I think
because
that
he's changed.
the pure.
And so basically, you don't know if he says, I'm for doing this or that, but yet 20 years ago he was for it, you know. You really don't know if he's going to be for it or not, you know, because he's not holding to a theology or a conservative bunch of principles. But see, the conservative principles, if you were just a ideologue, that means you can't be a pragmatist. Because if situations require you to do this, but you can't because your principles say no, then you end up in these double binding situations where, using abortion for instance, the mother is raped, and you say, well, you gotta bear this, because it's my principle. You know, see, it's my principle over your need, you know, so that principle then trumps reality, compassion. You see the difference? You know, if you don't have compassion, you can't find a pragmatic or just law that will remove the pain of the people. You would just increase it by imposing your will upon other people, which continues the warp, you see. So the other one I wanted to look at between these two, trying to bring it back to this idea here, is now you have Clinton and Sanders, which is kind of like, well, let me finish up with here. So it's Trump against the other candidates, because he is kind of like the anti-candidate. They're all trying to be the perfect candidate, and he's like, I'll stick my finger in your eye, you know, that kind of thing, you know. But this thing that really bent the Republican reality was the belief that President Bush made the country safe, and that he made the country safer by going to war for false reasons. And that now it's Obama's fault that we're in this mess.
Everything is Obama's fault.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the black hole of the Republican Party, is that we are the rational, correct party who makes foreign policy decisions, and the Democrats are weak and they just go in circles. You know, but we're the foreign policy, make you safe policy. So to say that your whole thing is built on a crook, you know, that should be impeached, or, you know, for taking the country to war for false reasons, you can't get any worse than that, you know, if that's really what you see. So I really felt like this, he really stuck his finger in the Republican eye with that. So Trump sees the lie that bends reality. He was really seeing the lie that bends the Republican belief in itself, you know, that continues, you know. So now over to Clinton and Sanders. If the fishbowl is the economy, is a system, if the fishbowl is our government and our economy, and if the government, politicians, the government and the economy is rigged so all of the wealth goes to the top of the fishbowl, and the rest of the fish are starving, you see. Sanders is saying, look at the whole fish, look at the fishbowl. You got to see the fishbowl as being warped. You got to see the fishbowl that is being warped by the gravitational wave of greed. So he's saying basically that greed, wealth and power, has accumulated in the top, in both Democrat and Republican systems, not just the Republicans, but in both. The whole fishbowl is rigged, you see, and that the black hole is greed. And that greed for wealth and power, political power, financial power, whatever, creates a warped system, you see, that the centrifugal force of it forces the wealth out to the edges and the center hollows out. You know, like the centrifugal force of this karmic warp goes through time, puts all the wealth out here, and the middle class is being hollowed out. So this is basically what Sanders is pointing to with one message, you see. Clinton is saying, from the way it's fleshing out, Clinton is saying, yes, we got to do something, but I'm the only one that can work within the fishbowl. So I'm the one who can make things happen, but we're not going to change the fishbowl. We'll just make changes incrementally inside the fishbowl. And Sanders is saying that won't do. It'll just continue on. You have to see the fishbowl. So he's really not saying we've got to. Now, see, this is what revolutions in other cultures, Cuban Revolution, Russian Revolution, Arab Spring, all of these revolutions that happen in other cultures, basically since there is no institution, like no constitution, and institutions like we have, their revolution is taking a hammer and breaking the fishbowl. So it usually turns out to be kind of violent. You know, we'll just smash the fishbowl and hope something new comes up. But what comes up is another fishbowl. So then the army comes in, or the dictator, or whatever, it comes in to bring it, because we got to have a fishbowl. Otherwise, the society, the fish would just go all over the ocean. There would be no society. So there's got to be a fishbowl. So our fortune is that we have a constitution that allows nonviolent revolutions to happen every 4 years. You know, and so Sanders is really, from my understanding, now I'm just saying this is the way I see it, is that Sanders is calling upon the fish to wake up and see the fishbowl. You know, he wants people to rise up as a movement of seeing, of awakening, of seeing and once the people see the fishbowl, changes will happen automatically in the fishbowl, because they're going to vote in politicians who see the fishbowl. So the difference, I was trying to see the difference, so both of these are good people, and I'll vote for either one of them. But I think just the way the Sanders is really taking the role of a Hebrew prophet. He's Jewish, but he's not religious. But he's always been an independent. See? So in Congress, he's always been an independent, but he voted Democratic. So he's kind of like the prophet who lives out in the desert. And when the conditions are right, he comes into the city and points out the hypocrisy. He shows the greedy people in the temple. You know, he's pointing out the hypocrisy because he's always been outside of the fishbowl. So I just think they're really, there's really great, mythological forces moving in the election that we, because we're so close to it, we don't see. So both Trump and Sanders are seeing the lie of the fishbowl, but each in their own way. Trump is basically saying, I can fix it. Sanders is saying, the people, we can fix it. There's a big difference there. So Sanders comes out of the Hebrew tradition of the people who don't need a savior, right? They don't need Jesus. So the Hebrews have a direct covenant with God as a people. Christianity has a direct covenant with God through Jesus. So Christianity creates a savior as a mediator between the people and God. You see? So Trump is basically saying, I'm the savior. I can fix and bring justice to the world. Of course, they're all saying that. Clinton is saying, I'm the savior, I can fix it. Sanders is the only one saying, we, the people, I can't do it, we, the people, can do it. Yeah.
Underlying this whole thing, though, is that we, the people, as Sanders may say, often don't go out and vote. And the only people that really get involved in, like, argue politics
Yeah.
are people who already did argue politics, who already cared.
Yeah, and they're older.
Republican. Yeah, but an awful lot of people, they complain about this, but they don't get out there and vote.
Yeah, well, that's what Sanders is saying and what he's doing, because the shift is happening here with the millennials. Now, the millennial is the generation that's 18 to 34, and this is bigger than the baby boomers. This is a huge working class thing. And this generation has grown up with the internet and social media. They weren't adults when the Clintons were running things, you see. So the Clintons are kind of like a rerun TV show. They brought the Clintons back, for a rerun. And bring Bush back for a rerun. So this is basically just rerunning the time warp. We'll do the 90s again, we'll do it again, And, but this 18 to 34 generation has nothing to do with that, And people call, well, the me generation are just in their smartphone. But that's not true, They are really outside. The reason they don't vote is because they're just outside of the fishbowl. They don't, they're not interested, they don't see any use in it. They see if I vote for this or vote for that, it stays the same. Why vote?
Well, one thing I don't understand, and maybe someone can clarify for us, I get the impression a lot of people it has been made very difficult for them to get registered and to vote. I can't understand why anyone would make it difficult for people to get registered and to vote, but I gather it is.
It's very logical if you are a conservative. Now, conservative means is that you have inherited some money from your family, your father, and it's only so much, and you can't increase it. In other words, you've got to spend it out, but you've got no new income coming in, so this is it. So you're going to conserve it, right? I got no new job, no new energy, nothing. This is it. So I'm going to conserve it and hand it out. Now, with the Republican Party, as a white, male-dominant party, the population is increasingly brown and black and Asian, right? So the demographic is increasing, and their little white tribe is shrinking, right? So the future does not look very good. Maybe this election, but as you look down the road, you're getting huge majorities of not only Democrats, but also all the minorities, So this little tribe is going to be the minority. So the strategy then is that you limit voting, keep pressing voting down, you increase your chances of maintaining power. And Sanders, they're all saying when the Democrats vote, Democrats win. When the Democrats don't vote, they lose. In other words, when everyone comes, there's more Democrats than Republicans. And when they all awaken, Democrats have a sweep. You see.
Is that the Republican strategy in redistricting?
Yeah, the same thing.
They redistrict.
Yeah, you take Richmond or you take Virginia's done it, and so you got this population here. So if you draw a district that looks like that, so everyone in it is white, you see, then you're going to have a representative there no matter what. So yeah, the last time, and every 10 years they do this because they take the census and they figure out where everybody is, and the party in power gets to draw. It's called gerrymandering.
Is that legal though?
Yeah, but it can be thrown out by the courts when it gets exaggerated, when it gets off balance. So a lot of these things, gerrymandered districts are being thrown out. I think one of them just got thrown out in Richmond or Virginia.
What does gerrymandering mean?
That means you gerrymander, I don't know where it came from, but it means you manipulate the district so it favors your party.
Okay.
So somebody sits and gets in there with a map, it's redistricting time, and they draw that map, you see. So, because the populations are shifting, they're moving
Because
around.
they're losing power, they're trying everything they
To
can.
conserve it.
To conserve it.
That's what a conservative does.
Okay.
It conserves wealth and power. And there's a value in that. Otherwise, you give your money to your teenager and he doesn't conserve it, he throws it away, So the Republican Party has always historically thought of itself as the wise father who protects the wealth of the country, and these Democrats are all running around trying to spend it all. Like adolescents, They're not grown up. They just want to give it all away. So that's their theme, don't let them have the money, don't blow it.
They voted in the entire Congress. They conserved Congress.
Right. Yeah, so and what Sanders is trying to create is historically, when you have a landslide presidential election, it's called coattails. And the president's coattails sweep up all the senatorial elections. You see, it happened with Reagan. Reagan swept up, who was it who they wiped out? Well, all of the Democrats, there was, you go back, there was McGovern, wiped out by Nixon. Who was McGovern? Yeah, he got wiped out in the Democratic Party in 1968, I think. He was the anti-war. And then, who lost? Then Reagan, not McGovern. Some of the Democratic candidates that lost. Dukakis was wiped out. Kerry. But later on it started becoming 50-50, really narrow. Like with Kerry and Gore, it was almost equal, just a few votes. But before that, there were wipeouts. Reagan would, sweep the whole country, and that would sweep in coattails, So right now, with the next election, I think there are 24 Senate seats. There's twice as many Republican senators up for re-election as Democratic senators. So there's a big opportunity for the Democrats to sweep up. Because when there's a sweep and everybody's voting Democrat, you just go to the booth and you just click Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. You just go right down the line, you know, you don't just start choosing around, you know. And so you get this called, you know, a sweep. So that would change the dynamics of the Congress, you see. So anyway, is this idea of the gravitational wave that bends reality, and that we all live in each one of us lives in a isolated world. I mean, each of us lives in the world we create. The illusion is that we're all living in an external world together. Now think about that for a moment. So I hold up this magic marker, and I see the magic marker from this side. I can't see this. This side might be white. I don't know. So my perception is, if I just turn it just a little bit, I change my perception of this. So every one of you, you see, from your location here, is seeing this from your perspective. Now the illusion is that we are seeing, each of us is seeing a magic marker that exists out here in space. But that's an illusion. We just see our perspective of the magic marker. So each of us sees the world we perceive, and when we're born, we create this world, and when we die, we take it with us. So in the Buddhist tradition, there really is no external world in space-time that exists separate from us. We just believe that's so because we all live in this fishbowl together, and we need to talk and catch a bus and do stuff. So we need to have this external idea that this world exists so that we can talk and communicate and all this stuff, you see. But the reality is we only see the world from our perspective. And I can't see the world from your perspective, I can only see it from mine, you see. And so we all, if you go to a primitive society that lives in the jungle, they would be living in an entirely different reality than we would, you know. When you go, like Avatar was a metaphor for that. Pandora was a totally different reality frame from the sky people. So the sky people say, well, they're just trees, chop them down. And the Pandora said, no, it's the whole tree. This is the brain of the whole, the brain of the nervous system of the whole planet. And that's just, from the sky, it's just a tree. They got other trees. In other words, so this, you know, so I guess the point is that each of us lives in our own little world, and it's shaped, and the gravitational warp is created by, so let's move on to that. So here is our time warp, and the center is me. Or I. So this, you know, this really is, if we just stop and look at it from this perspective, everything I perceive, everything I encounter, everything I do is basically a reference to me. So I'm like the hub of the wheel. Now all the spokes, you see, all the spokes point to me. So the Buddha Dharma is seeing that this me is fiction. It's a black hole. So the fear is, you see, that if there is no me, in other words, what the great fear is that if there was no me, then I wouldn't exist. Where would I be if there's no me to experience reality, you see? That's why we fear death, is because when we die, there's no me there to experience. There's no, death is like a black hole. We can't go there. Well, me is a black hole too, in the sense that in this tradition, what this tradition says is that me is maintained in time, past, future, through memory. Okay? Our memory maintains the thought of me. This is why we get so freaked out by Alzheimer's. It's because when a person gets Alzheimer's, the me goes away. So they're just here. But the whole history, you see, the memory of the family, the experiences, all that, it's wiped off. So the person is alive and they're here.
So Alzheimer's could be a blessing.
Well, it's
I wouldn't say that, but
awakening is a form of Alzheimer's
okay.
without the brain disease.
Okay.
In other words, you're just here and you're okay with it. You see? So if it's raining, it's okay, it's raining. If it's not, it's okay, it's not raining.
You're just totally.
Yeah, if I've got cancer, I've got cancer. There's no me, you see, that's saying, why did this happen to me?
Right.
It happened. So when the me is not strong, it's not that we can get away with it. You can't just erase it, but it becomes transparent, like the fishbowl.
So you always have somewhat of a me.
There is a center, yeah, there is a me, but it becomes transparent so that it doesn't create. If it's not transparent, we think it's solid, you see. And now we're clinging to my ideology, I'm clinging to my religion, I'm clinging to all of these things, placemats that keep me in place. So my religion, my family identity, my race, all these things are basically the placemats that keep me in place so that I feel permanent and real. And if you take away the placemats, I get real shaky. So if you threaten my religion, I get really shaky because that supports me, you see. So anything that supports me, like spokes on the wheel, and you start taking away these spokes, me gets having a nervous breakdown. It's threatened by death, you see. So this whole practice, you see, is turning back and being courageous enough to look at the pain in this, you see. So it's the pain that supports the fiction, that I am something special and that I will live forever, but I know I won't, so I'm scared. That whole... and so me, you see, because it's resisting reality and seeing things as they are, conditions, creates a Groundhog Day. It's like the whirlpool in the river. When conditions are right in the river, you're going to get a whirlpool. But the whirlpool is just a pattern. It's not the water, because the water flows through the pattern, but the whirlpool stays. You see? So you can't really say the whirlpool is the river. It's not really something. It's a pattern that uses the water passes through the pattern and gets shaped by the pattern. So the whirlpool is a gravitational wave. The whirlpool shapes the river in a pattern. The river flows through it. Life flows through it, but we are trapped in the pattern. And we get trapped in the pattern because we don't see the pattern. We think something else is causing it. I'm in pain, but somebody else is at fault. So me is kind of like the whirlpool pattern of a river that feels the pain of the river being caught life being caught in a pattern, but blames something else for it. So it never really gets free from the pattern because it doesn't want to get rid of me. So as long as I'm clinging to me, I'm clinging to the pattern that creates the pain or the suffering that Buddha says life is, you see. And the only way out is not to do something, not to run from it, not to fix it, but to see it. Because when we see, here's the pattern. If I see the pattern, I'm not in the pattern. See, me is in the pattern. So I get to my sister-in-law, when she comes, and the conditions are right, and that awakens a little fight or a little pain body. Right? We have a little dinner table, a kitchen fight, whatever. I'm in it, she's in it. We're like the two black holes orbiting each other, looking for a way to get out of the pain. And it accelerates, whoa, till you scream, or whatever. We all know that, see this happening. So when these two become one, the swirling vortex stops. And they become one when one surrenders its attachment to me. So they become one when there is some kind of seeing. So what happens is that we're caught in the pattern, like two eggs in a pan, me and my sister-in-law, round and round, happens over and over again, right? But when seeing awakens, there is an eye that opens outside of the pattern that sees the pattern. While at the same time, I'm in the pattern. Something awakens. It's like space. Space awakens to see the two planets. So you got two planets going around each other, and when seeing awakens, they're still there, but I am not here. See, there's a me here, but I am seeing. But I'm still a personality having a little drama with my sister-in-law. But at the same time, I see it. I see myself in the drama, in the karma. You see? So that begins to change the game here. Because now I'm no longer invested in removing her as the cause of my pain. And she may continue to want to remove me and stop me from hurting her, because that's what we're doing. I stop playing the game. And when I stop playing the game, then she has the opportunity to stop playing, because I'm not playing with her. This is nonviolence. This is the nonviolence of Martin Luther King.
Is it compromise?
What?
Is it compromise?
No. It's not a compromise, because that's a bargain. Well, I don't know if I want to give the Martin Luther King friend. I was thinking about this because I just saw a documentary on Netflix of a video team that filmed a documentary of the Black Panthers in the Black Power movement from 1967 to 75, interviewing all of the Angela Davis and Cleaver and all of these figures of Stokely Carmichael, all these figures of that age, from a Swedish viewpoint instead of a Nixon viewpoint. So it's very, very instructive to me. It's on Netflix. And there was a conflict between Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King. Because Martin Luther King, people didn't understand nonviolence because it's a spiritual principle and not a power principle. Basically the nonviolence, so if this is white and this is black, and they're caught in a karmic fight for justice in our society, going round and round, how do you break out of that fishbowl? So Martin Luther King's philosophy is that if you do not play the game that is laid out for you, but you don't fight your opponent, you just don't play, you participate without fighting. So if you, if like the bus, so if you or all of those nonviolent demonstrations were basically not confrontational of two powers, but of one just refusing to play the game but still participating. In other words, they nonviolently opposed the opposition. So that is kind of like jujitsu, where in the martial arts, if somebody comes running at you with a knife, you don't fight them back, you just let them go through and flip them. So you use their aggression against them. So on the Selma Bridge, you have the peaceful marchers going, and then you have the police with the attack dogs, and so they're, you know, and so they don't fight back, right? So what that did was, if we recall, it exposed the fishbowl. It exposed the injustice of the fishbowl, because it's on TV. Before, it wouldn't have, if there wasn't any TV, it wouldn't have happened. You know, just, you know, who cares? You know, just been another, you know, something happened down there in Mississippi, nobody would know, but it was on TV. That changed the game, because now you've got the fish watching the drama, you see. Now the fish see the fishbowl, and change happens. So this, I guess what I'll keep coming back around to is that the whole Buddha Dharma is creating the conditions where the seeing eye, not the seeing eye dog, but the awakened eye of who I am. Our true nature, you see, is not a me that's going to die, but a black hole that is just seeing. You see, seeing is divided. You know, when we just see, it's not two, it's one. I see. But when I am blinded by my me, I only perceive a section of reality. When I'm blinded by my me, I believe I see the whole marker, but I'm only seeing the part that I can see. But my illusion is, my ignorance is that I believe I see the truth, which is the whole marker. So I'm saying, I see the whole marker. And then you say, well, no, you don't, because there's polka dots on this side. And I say, no, you're lying. I see the whole marker, it's all black. And you say, no, you're lying, there's polka dots here. Now we're going to go to war about the truth, you see. But he's just seeing one side. And the me keeps us from, keeps us about the truth, right? You don't have it, I got it, because truth is one and I got it. You know, they're saying, no, I got the truth, because truth is one and I got it. So what you're seeing there, you see, is two black holes fighting for the one, you see. So I guess the point is that our me, which has a hidden pain in it, the pain of me, warps our perception of reality around it like a fishbowl, but we can't see it because we're in it. In the same way the fish can't see the fishbowl because he's in it. So the awakening of wisdom is the process that we're all involved in here, is the awakening of seeing, and beginning to see get a glimpse of the patterns that hold us and the world in place. So history just keeps repeating itself in a Groundhog Day. And I really think that our country is in a place where the conditions have changed to such a degree that the old fish bowls just won't stand anymore. You know? The ocean has changed. Social media, the youth generation, you know, global village, the spiritual awakening that's going on. You can go on the internet and get all the wisdom of the world, but at a click. You know, all the great all the teachers are on there. You know, it's just a Baskin Robbins of spirituality. You can get any flavor you want. You know, hang out there. You like Buddhism, you like Sufism, whatever you want. You know, you can do yoga, whatever. You know, and it's all there. You know, for the fish. You know, we're not ignorant anymore. You know, the fishbowl keeps the fish ignorant because they don't want it to see the fishbowl. You know, so this whole thing is stirring. That's why everything is unpredictable. Everything's up in the air. It's scary, but it's exciting. You know, and the Buddha Dharma, the practice of Buddha, you see, is the ultimate revolution, because it really takes us right to the core of my own existence. Because when the me begins to weaken and disappear, what you have is called the self. And the self includes the world that I'm in. So I really see that I am the world and the world is me. You know, that I live in the world that I see. You live in the world you see. And I understand, and I accept that, you know. So that changes everything, so that I'm not just like a me fighting some other me's to get all the goods, to get fame and success and self-esteem and all that stuff, to get rid of the pain of me, because the pain of me comes from feeling separate from the world. That's where my pain comes from. I feel separate, but I want to be special. I want to be special and belong at the same time. I want to belong to the world, but I want to be special. And you can't have both. You can't belong to the world and be separate from the world, which means that's what special means. I'm special. I can't be special and belong to the world. So I'm constantly swinging back and forth, you see, because both of them, I need to be. So the only way to be unique is to be the self that includes the world. Now I'm unique, but at the same time I belong to the world because the world is me. So there are no boundaries in this thing.
When you change from me to self in the middle there, is that self with a capital S?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say me is little s and self is big. Yoga talks about the self a lot. You know, the self, you know, self is bigger than little self. Little self has boundaries. Me, you. When compassion awakens, compassion is the big self. There's no boundaries in compassion or love. You know. So this is a teaching of Jesus too. I mean, he says, love your enemies. Well, what that means is, in order to love your enemy as yourself is to be oneself, which includes the opposites. It doesn't mean the guy who's trying to kill you. It just means what you think is outside of you. So the enemy would be the other. You see, so if I see the world against me against the other, and Trump frames that world. You know, the other is the Mexicans, and they're all rapists, and they're all coming to get your jobs, or the Muslims, they're all coming to all this. It creates a sense of me, and I'm going to protect you. So you can't have a me unless you got the end of the other. You see, you can't have a me, and so he awakens the me of the Republican Party. He'll protect you from the other, but first he has to create the other. You know.
There's so much division.
Yeah, you know. And so but the Democrats are saying there is no other. You know, they're just people.
There's people. We're all people.
Yeah. So that, the view of the self is that we're all one, and the view of the me is, no, there's me and the other. So there's so many things that bouncing back and forth in this. And I'm really unloading a lot on you, so I really appreciate your hanging in there.
Do you think the scientists will ever come to this on their own? I mean, now they've discovered this gravitational wave.
Yeah.
That does exist. Will they ever?
I'm glad you brought that up. Here's the difference between the science of Buddha. The odd thing is, you see, that these insights that Buddha discovered 450 years before Christ, quantum physics is now discovering externally, right? The difference is that Buddha didn't use microscopes and telescopes and instruments. His journey was subjective, turning within and just sitting and going within and discovering the truths of his life. The West has always been externally visioned, so we've been very good at fixing the external world. We can create air conditioning and cars and stuff. We make stuff. So we discover truth externally, or microscopically, and down to atomic physics or cosmology. These are both external. But the eye that sees is not disturbed, is not changed. So a scientist can discover gravitational waves and still come home and beat his wife. You see, he's not personally changed by this. He might be, but most scientists can discover some formula or truth externally, but they have not changed the world they live in. And they still be addicted to something, they still be unhappy, they still, like Donald Draper, looking for inner peace, or something. But, so in other words, there is this knowledge of the cosmology is not a transformative knowledge of the individual.
They're still looking scientific.
They're still, the looker, is outside of this. In other words, we can look more and more at the world as a fishbowl and discover how it works, but the scientist is outside of it, and his discoveries don't affect him. But when Buddha looks at it, he's looking at himself as the world, so what he sees transforms himself. See, because the scientist is looking at the world objectively, the subject is not included. Buddha's vision is that the subject and the object are really one, and seeing is outside of it.
Say that again.
All right, let's go back over that. if this is the world, subject, object, me, it. Okay? There's a separation there. So I see a subject, me, see it. And now I name this thing, this is an eraser, and I can talk to you, and you see it, yeah, I see it. You know, we can make transactions on this, you see. But this is external to the eye that sees it, the subject. The illusion of materialism, which is the fishbowl we live in, is that the subject is not the object. Our grammar enforces this, even our grammar. So we got grammar that says subject, which is a noun,
At a known temperature.
does something, verb, to an object. Okay? Action, thing, thing. So in our grammar, you have the way we see the world is things do things to things. You see? So I'm a thing, and I take this and I write on the board, I write, and I make something. Right? This grammar, our particular grammar is the Indo-European grammar. It's French, English, German, all these Indo-European languages all have this same structure. And we see and we believe that the world is like our grammar, because this is the way we think.
And we were taught that when we were 5
Well,
years
certainly.
old.
This is the water we swim in. We can't help it. We're swimming in it.
That's right.
So the world then becomes a thing of a bunch of things doing things to other things. Right? I mean, that's common sense, you see. But the reality is there is no separate thing. Everything is interdependent. And science is discovering that now. So if you say that one of the common things is, if a butterfly flaps in Brazil, it creates a tornado in Oklahoma. You know, so if somebody farts in China, somebody goes out of work. So, you know, in other words, this is the world we live in now, right? If there's a riot in England, some business is going to go out of some job, you know, somebody's going to lose work here. You know, so everything is interrelated.
The stock market is a good
Yeah, so that's, you know, everything is interrelated now.
Somebody
We don't live in isolated nations where we can't be bothered. Nothing else affects, you know, like we're the fortress America. Nothing bothers us, you see. So everything affects everything. So this is really an illusion that there are separate things, because everything is dependent upon conditions, you see. So in the definition we give it, you know. So actually from the Buddha point of view, from the Buddha vision, the only thing that exists is verbs. The only thing that exists is action. You know, because if everything is impermanent, everything changes, it's like the river, right? So the river flows. You can't, the Greek, I forgot what Greek philosopher said, you can't step in the same river twice. No. So I step in the river, okay, I step in the river again, it's a different river. But the illusion is it's the same river.
It's moving, so
Yeah.
you're not stepping.
Yeah, so reality is moving, but the illusion is that it's staying the same. See, so reality is constantly changing, all interrelated, it's a big flux, but our brains create this hologram that it's a split subject-object universe. You see, I'm in it, you're in it, we got these things, and I can throw it, whatever. I can make one, I can fix it, all these things, which is true. But at the same time, there is a deeper truth that it's all one. And so in our culture, we miss that deeper truth that it's all one, and we just see it as a bunch of separate stuff. And since I'm a separate stuff, I feel the pain of not being real. I'm not part of the whole. I'm a separate thing, you see. And separate things die. So now I'm afraid of death, you see, because I'm a noun that's going to be, I'm a noun, and it's going to be wiped off, you see. But what the Buddha's teaching is that granted, the thing, the self, the me goes, but the self remains. And so if the self is the black hole, and the gravitational warp around it, you see, like the whirlpool in the river, will change when conditions change. But the black hole of seeing, the black hole of awareness, stays the same. So this is timeless. So when the black hole awakens, or this awareness, this self awakens, I have a sense of being timeless. I have a sense of being deathless. That the illusion that I'm separate will die, but the truth that I am one with everything doesn't die, because everything is, the present moment is always here. So we could say then that the black hole, getting back to Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah, it always goes back to him.
is the black hole is the now. In other words, the present moment is like a black hole because I cannot make the present moment stand still. So I can put it in my grammar and say this is a noun and this is that, you see. I can't make the flow of the moment of reality stand still, except in my mind, in my brain creates a hologram in which everything's in place. And I'm a conservative, try to keep everything in place, you see, which includes the me. But the timeless flow of now is always threatening to pop my bubble. Like little bubbles on the wave, on the stream, and so they float along and then pop, you see. So we live in these little holograms of bubbles with the me in the middle, afraid that we're going to pop, not realizing that we're the river, or the stream of life itself, you see. So awakening is realizing that I am a bubble and the bubble's going to pop, but at the same time, the bubble's made of water. You see, so the boundary of my me is really the boundary of, there is no boundary, it's all life, you see. So, wow, this is really digging in there, aren't you?
Another word for now would be, well, Eckhart Tolle uses presence,
Yeah,
but would God be another word for now?
yeah.
God, presence?
If you don't define God.
Yes. Not
You
like
see,
you used
as
to.
soon as you define God,
You lost
you've made him a noun.
Right, right.
You put the grammar on him, you see.
So
So God is beyond grammar.
use a word, they're not, I heard now the unborn,
Yeah,
unborn.
yeah. That's a great metaphor, yeah.
That doesn't define, you can't define that.
Right.
So it's, that gives
Yeah,
you
the unborn is a black hole
better dress.
that is prior to space-time. As soon as you enter space-time, you're a thing.
It's the big.
Yes.
See, but we're born, we come out of a black hole, we go back into a black hole. When we appear out of the black hole, we are created in a gravitation, in a wave or a pattern with a me in the center, and I go through time collecting experiences, yada yada, and then when conditions are right, the body falls off and the pattern goes away. So we return to our source, you see. You could also say it's deep sleep. So we go to sleep, you see, you go through waking state, dream state, and deep sleep. Well, nobody's there, deep sleep. No dreams, there's no me, but you're there.
So it's just awake, asleep, awake, asleep.
Yeah, you're there, but you're not, the me is not there. See, so great sleep, because in a great sleep, we return to the source of deep sleep and restore ourselves. We go back to the source and we come back to the day afresh, got full of energy, you see, had a great sleep. I went to see God. But when you see God, there's nobody there to see God. It's not like, hey, hi, God.
But we're a part of it.
Yeah, you know, because there's no boundaries, you see?
There's no concept.
Yeah, there's no,
We're all not gonna meet at the end of the world.
yeah, and we're already there. There is no,
There's no.
from this end, there is no,
end.
there is no something in the future. There is no time.
Yeah.
See, in the black hole, there's no time or space. So in the present moment, we look in this present moment now, and our brains create into a world full of things in time. But that moment that I see is already gone. See, this, you know, when they look at the stars or the cosmology, whatever you see in the sky is already gone. That light is just getting to us. So what I see up there now, that star could be blown up. Could not exist. So how many billions of years it takes for our light to get to us, what we're seeing is yesterday. When we look at the present moment right now, when I'm looking at you, each of us is looking at the last instant. See what I mean? Every instant is a new instant. So every instant is the death of the old and the birth of the new.
Like when we breathe and that's it.
Yeah.
We never come back to that breathe that we just did.
Yes, exactly. Every moment is entirely new. So it's kind of like a moving point. Well, it's not moving, it's a point. It's kind of like, all right, so this, you got this here.
I gotta go to class. What is it, 1:30?
Oh, all right, well, let me just finish this one thought. There's a lot of theories, you know, in cosmology, you know, that we got, well, this is the black hole, okay? So this is the universe we live in, and it gets sucked into the black hole and it comes out here in another universe. You know, so if the black hole draws space-time into it, well, where does it go? You see, well, some people say, well, it goes into it, so there's an alternative universe on the other side of the black hole. Or we're on the other side of the black hole, who can tell, right? Well, another way of looking at it, this is now. So this now is like a revolving door where this is past and this is unknown. Okay? So the past is what we really see is the past. We're always seeing the instant that just passed, because the brain can't compute, you know, it takes a millisecond or something for the brain to take the senses and compute, name everything, you know, oh, well, you know, I know what this is. How do I know what that is? Because of my memory. So if an Aborigine walked in here, he wouldn't know what that was. You see, he had no memory of it, you know. So in other words, I create the past out of my memory of how things were, and I believe it's what is. But what is, you see, has already moved on one. So this is the unborn. And this is the born. But the born is already dead. It's already past. The unborn is always now, but we can't see it until the instant later it becomes form, born. So when we die, we just become now.
We can do that now, though.
Yeah, right. This is awakening to now. So it's not like you perceive. The awakened mind is go back to God or now, or God, for instance, or now. You can't perceive the unknown, because once you perceive it, it becomes known. So the unknown is like the ground of everything that we know, but it's always there. So the known, what we know, comes out of the unknown. It's always being born. We can sense it. You can sense or feel the self or the totality, but you can only perceive the known, the parts.
This is perception.
Yeah.
This is what we...
Yeah, perception operates on this side. You know,
Yes.
you can't perceive what doesn't exist.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
We're living by perception.
Yeah, which is basically from a point of view, you know. And so the illusion is that all these points of view create an independent reality that exists outside of us. You know. Okay.
And if my mind's blank now.
Blow your mind.
Let it stew for a while.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, this, wow. Yeah, the problem, and I've had, this has been a problem with my whole life, was that if you want to see God, or you want to be enlightened, or you want to see, be heaven, or whatever you want to be there to experience it. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
You know, so if you want to be rich, the idea is, well, I want to experience myself being rich. See, so I want to experience it. Well, in order for me to experience something, I have to be separate from it. You see, so I never become one with life because I want to experience it. And as long as I want to experience it, the experiencer has to be separate from the experience. So this me, you see, has to tag along, has to be there. So you can never get there because the me is always there, and the cause of the pain is the separation of me from the world. So I keep bringing my separation in time, trying to get away from the pain of separation, because I want to experience being free from pain. But I can't because I bring the me with me. So when we see that, when we see it, the whole game begins to weaken. And I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, I don't have to experience anything. You see, I'm experiencing now. And that's all there is. Just this. You see, I'm experiencing that. So if it's cold, I'm cold. If it's hot, I'm hot. If I've got cancer, I've got cancer. You know, if I'm poor, if I'm rich, it doesn't, you know, this is what I experience now. This is all there is. This now is it. I can imagine myself experiencing differently, see, but then I'm creating another fishbowl, you see, where I'm chasing something in the future that doesn't exist, you see. So, you know, this whole anyway, and that becomes where the idea of surrender, you know.
Yeah.
You just surrender to the moment, it's okay. So we can rest in now, because it's okay. It's all there is, it has to be okay. Anyway, thank you all
Thank you.
so much. It's a good time.
Now, if your sister-in-law,
Huh?
if your sister-in-law, you were sitting and you're working toward a settlement,
Yeah.
does she meditate too?
No.
Do you come to a...
I don't work with the settlement. I don't work with the force settlement.